Alright, so after an 8-day break, I'm back again with another video. So, two videos in one day, keeping up that activity. So, today, the UFC just confirmed two new bouts for UFC Seattle, which takes place February 2nd. And the main event is Henry Cejudo versus Yadong Song Yadong. And then the main event is, the co-main event is Dominic Cruz versus Rob Font. And I'm going to say again, the main event is Cejudo versus Song. I'm just putting that out there just in case I mess that up, because sometimes I mess up my words in my videos. Not having that happen today, because I don't want to do all this editing. But I have a bit of a problem with this matchmaking for this card for a few reasons. For one, Dominic Cruz has been calling for this rematch with Henry Cejudo, and I think that's like clearly the perfect fight to make, for both guys' careers, because both men are old, they're washed up. Henry Cejudo, Triple C, already has a win over Dominic Cruz. So a fight against Cruz would be like almost the perfect fight for Henry to maybe get back in the win column, maybe to get, some momentum and confidence back. But then even for Cruz, he's not fighting like a dangerous up-and-comer. You know what I mean? I felt like this was the logical fight to make. Cejudo Cruz 2. I think it's weird to have two old vets on the same card and not against each other. This kind of reminds me of when, UFC 279, when they placed Diaz and Ferguson on the same card, but against two killers in Khamzat and Li Jingliang. And basically, Khamzat missing weight saved both Ferguson and Diaz, because even though Ferguson lost, he didn't take as bad of a loss against Nate as he would have against Li Jingliang, and Nate didn't lose, period, because he didn't fight Khamzat. He fought a washed Tony Ferguson. This also reminds me of the Abu Dhabi fight night that was in August, when Nick Diaz was supposed to fight Vicente Luque. Thank God that didn't happen. And on the same card, Tony was on the same card. They could have made Ferguson versus Diaz. Instead, they fed the washed vets to the wolves, like Michael Chiesa, and, attempted to get Nick murdered against Vicente Luque. And they're doing it again with this card. Although I'm a little more confident in Henry Cejudo against Song than I am in Cruz against Font. Like, I actually think Henry Cejudo might beat Song Yadong. He's got more experience, at least at the top of the division, I know, or as a top level fighter. I know Song has actually been in the UFC for, quite a bit of time now. Actually, no, he hasn't been in the UFC as long as Henry, but he's got a bigger record, more wins. Like, Henry has like 20 career fights. Song has 29 career fights. So actually, Song has more experience, I guess. But it feels more fitting to say Henry has more experience. He's got more championship experience, so to speak. He's a former two-division champion. And not too long ago, he had a very competitive fight with, the then champion Aljamain Sterling. Took him to a split decision. He literally could have walked away as a two-time bantamweight champion that night had just another judge given him that fight. And yeah, he got dominated by Murad Dvalishvili, which part of that could have been due to him being washed, but it's Murad. Murad does that to everybody on this run that he's on right now. And Henry started very strong against Murad in the first round, rocking him, even out wrestling him. It was just when he kind of faded from the Murad pace and broke his arm, that's when the fight started to kind of get away from him. But the thing is about this fight, Song Yadong, every time he steps it up in competition, he struggles. When he got given the big test against Corey Sandhagen, he fumbled, he lost that fight. When he got a big step up in Marlon Vera, he did win, but a lot of people might say otherwise. It was a very, very close fight that a lot of people didn't think Song won. And when he was put up against Peter Yan on a losing streak, he got outclassed. I mean, he looked good in the first round against Yan, just like he looked good in the first round against Corey. Then as the fight went on, the fight sort of got away from Song Yadong. You know what I mean? Like after round one, Sandhagen started to systematically break him down, pick him apart. After round one, Peter Yan started to adapt, outbox him, outwrestle him. And Henry Cejudo is very well rounded. He's got the wrestling advantage over Song Yadong. Now, striking wise, I do think Song is better, and he's got a power advantage. Plus, he's got the height advantage. Henry Cejudo is a midget. But Henry Cejudo is very experienced against taller fighters. His striking may not be as good as Song's, but I think his striking is good enough to compete with him on the feet before being able to, get his takedowns going. And I think he could out-wrestle Song Yadong. If Peter Yan could out-wrestle him, I think that Cejudo could out-wrestle him. So yeah, I actually am going to predict that Henry's going to win this fight. And even against lower level competition, Song doesn't look that good. He struggled with Casey Kenny, took him to a split decision, should have dusted him, lost to Kyler Phillips, and he didn't look that impressive against Chris Gutierrez. I know Song has big power, but I don't foresee him knocking out Henry Cejudo. Henry's a Mexican with a block head, iron chin. I don't see Henry getting finished. And if it comes down to a grueling 5-round fight that goes all 5, I think Henry has what it takes to outpoint him, beat him on the scorecards just through wrestling and having some moments on the feet. And with the takedown threat being a factor, I think that's going to help Cejudo in the striking. So dangerous fight for Henry, but I'm going to say Henry Cejudo is going to get it done against Song Yadong. But Song does have a chance. I could see Song winning. He comes from a good team. He's well coached. He's got Uriah Faber as a coach. I'm sure Team Alpha Male is going to, have a good game plan. But honestly, I would take Fight Ready over Team Alpha Male any day. But yeah, I think Cejudo wins. Dominic Cruz, not so much, man. Dominic Cruz is like, what, in his early 40s now, late 30s. Rob Font is also old too. Like, he's no spring chicken. And I actually want to look up Rob Font's age right now. Rob Font is 37, and then Dominic Cruz is, how old is Dominic Cruz? He's 39. Okay, so a 2-year age gap. So both are old, but I feel like Font is more in his prime at this point in their careers than Dominic Cruz. Now, Dominic is a decorated former 2-time world champion, but man, Font is a dangerous fight for Cruz to come back to after 2.5 years. Cruz had a good semi-second run after, losing the belt to Garbrandt. He came back after 4 years. Looked good against Henry, but then got caught by a knee, got finished, but then was able to bounce back with 2 wins against Kenny and against Pedro Munoz. But then he fought Chito Vera in a 5-rounder, which Chito in a 5-rounder is a tall order for any bantamweight. And he looked great. But couldn't avoid getting caught. And I don't know, I don't think he's going to look as good as he did 3 or 2.5 years ago against Chito. And I think Rob Font is, I know, Vera actually beat Font, but he beat him through knocking him down a bunch of times after losing rounds to him. But I feel like Font, in a way, is more dangerous than Vera, because even though he may not have the same level of power, he does have enough power to hurt Cruz. I think he's got better boxing than Dominic Cruz. And Dominic Cruz does have a good wrestling style, a good wrestling base. He doesn't heavily rely on it in his fights. He's going to need to in this fight. But the issue is Rob Font, early on, he'll fall victim to the initial shot. And then weirdly enough, the longer the fight goes, the better Font's takedown defense gets. And he's very difficult to hold down. So I think he could stuff Cruz's takedowns. If he gets taken down, he'll get right back up. Although he did get out-wrestled by Corey Sandhagen on on one arm. So, I mean, Cruz could do what Corey did, but Corey is like a younger, primed version of Cruz. Cruz is old, not at his best self. He's had so many injuries, and he's already kind of chinny. His style's been figured out, and I don't think Dominic Cruz's bobbing and weaving, stance switching footwork style is going to be super effective against Rob Font. I don't like this matchup. Font's probably going to stop Dominic Cruz or win a decision through dropping him multiple times. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like they could have made Cruz versus Cejudo. And also, this is Cruz's potential retirement fight. And what fight should they have made for Dominic Cruz's last fight? What's the one fight that everyone wanted to see Cruz have before retiring, before him or the other guy would retire? Cejudo is one guy I mentioned, but one matchup that fans have wanted dating back to the WEC days. Dominic Cruz versus Jose Aldo Jr. Why did the UFC not make that fight? That was the clear next fight to make. Aldo's not retired anymore. He's back. Dominic Cruz is going to retire after this next fight. This could have been a chance to give the fans the fight they've wanted for years. And now Dominic is going to retire without ever fighting Jose Aldo, which sucks. You know, I don't know why they're not giving Cruz that fight. Now let's look at these rankings, the bantamweight rankings. Cruz is unranked. Henry's number 7, who I said Aldo, or who I said what's his name, Cruz could have fought. Aldo is ranked number 11. I guess. I mean, where is Font in the rankings? Is he ranked? Yeah, he's ranked number 9. They're giving him the 9th ranked guy, but yeah, I guess they're not making the Aldo fight or the Cejudo fight because, that's how the UFC works. They always have to feed these old, washed veterans to the wolves to get rid of them. They never make the most logical matchups. They never do old vets versus old vets. I mean, they do that, but not often or not when they need to. And the UFC sometimes do fumble big opportunities, like they fumbled Aldo versus Cruz. And Cruz is probably about to lose to Rob Font and get retired on a loss. And I think Henry Cejudo, sorry, wrong scroll. I think Henry Cejudo is finna bounce back, but I wouldn't be surprised if he lost. But I think this is where Henry's going to get a win. And I guess they're making this fight because, I guess they don't want to give Henry an old declining guy. They want to give him someone in their prime because Cejudo, I guess, is still chasing that title at bantamweight. And I guess Cruz wouldn't be like an actual title eliminator. This isn't a title eliminator. If Song wins, he's not getting a shot. If Cejudo wins, he's not getting a shot. But you get the point. But with that being said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Can Cruz prove me wrong? Can Cruz prove me wrong? Or will Font beat him? And how does Cejudo do against Song? Like and subscribe, and peace out.